Stop calling life a journey. Alan Watts' mind-blowing explanation. We've all heard it 1,000 times. Life is a journey. It's in the books we read, the movies we watch, the speeches we share on social media. It sounds profound, comforting even. Life as a journey implies progress, direction, destination. It gives us something to strive toward, to look forward to. But Alan Watts, in his unmistakable brilliance, challenges this entire framework. He tells us that calling life a journey is one of the most misleading metaphors we've ever accepted. And once you understand why, it will completely change how you experience your existence, not tomorrow, not someday, but right now. The problem with the journey metaphor is hidden in plain sight. When we call life a journey, we imply that where we are isn't enough. We're taught, subtly but persistently, that this moment is just a stepping stone towards something else. That the real meaning lies ahead after we get the job, after we find the partner, after we reach enlightenment, retirement, success, legacy. We delay our presence for a future payoff. We endure the present like a toll we must pay to access some future where we'll finally get to live. But here's the catch, that future never arrives. It always shifts just a little further ahead. Like chasing the horizon, the journey metaphor tricks us into postponing our own aliveness.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Watts unravels this illusion by offering a radically different metaphor. Life is not a journey, it's a dance. I think about it, when you dance, you're not trying to get to a specific place on the floor. You don't dance to arrive at the end. The whole point is to move, to feel, to lose yourself in rhythm. The music isn't a conveyor belt moving you toward an exit, it's the whole point. Every step is the destination. Every twirl is complete in itself. Now apply that to life. What if you stopped trying to get somewhere, and instead fully entered where you are? This shift sounds small, but it's seismic. It cuts through the anxiety that plagues us daily, the constant background hum of "I'm not there yet." When life is a journey, every moment becomes a means to an end. You wake up not to be awake, but to start the grind. You work not to work, but to earn. You rest not to rest, but to recharge for the next round. Even love becomes transactional, a step on the journey toward validation or stability or meaning. We've turned living into strategizing. But if life is a dance, then everything changes. Then, waking up is the miracle. Talking to a friend is the reward. Breathing becomes enough. And here's where things get even deeper. When you see life as a journey, you unconsciously believe that there's a fixed self making progress over time. You identify with the ego, this narrative-driven version of you that must constantly prove itself. You say things like, "I'm working on myself," or "I'm not who I used to be," or "I'll be happy when." These aren't wrong. They're just part of the trap. Watts reminds us, the self we cling to so desperately, the I we believe is evolving, is just a story. A voice in the head narrating a dream. The real you isn't moving through life. Life is moving through you. And when you stop seeing yourself as a traveler on a path and start seeing yourself as a note in a song, everything softens. Now ask yourself something most people never even consider. What if there's nowhere you're supposed to end up? What if the whole obsession with arrival is a distraction from the only thing that's ever been real this exact moment? What if your life doesn't have a meaning you're supposed to discover, but is instead a canvas you're meant to play on? This is where the metaphor of the journey becomes dangerous. It keeps us waiting for permission to enjoy what we already have. It whispers, "Not yet, not until you've earned it." But the dance says now, always now. Alan Watts doesn't argue this point with dry logic. He offers it as an invitation to stop marching and start swaying, to let go of the pressure to get it right, and simply participate in the cosmic rhythm unfolding all around us. Because when you really stop and listen, when you stop treating this moment as a vehicle for something else, you realize that the music has been playing the whole time. Life is music, not a map. How the rhythm of now destroys the myth of progress. If life isn't a journey with a destination, but instead something like a dance or a piece of music, then everything we've been taught about success, achievement, and personal development needs to be questioned. Because music doesn't move toward an ending the way a train moves toward a station. It's not about getting to the final note. It's about the melody, the harmony, the pauses, the silence, and the sound all working together. You don't listen to a song to get to the last chord. You listen to it to feel it while it's playing. And yet we treat life like a map we have to finish, a route we need to follow, a mission with checkpoints. Alan Watts tears into this idea with a gentle ferocity, revealing the insanity of constantly measuring life by how far along we think we are. Ask yourself honestly, how often do you look at your life and think, I should be further by now? Further in your career, in your relationships, in your self-worth. This quiet self-attack is everywhere, woven into the way we talk about growth. We say things like, I'm behind, or I need to catch up, as if there's some cosmic stopwatch timing our progress. But where exactly is this finish line? What does it even look like? When do you finally arrive and say, ah, yes, this is it, I'm complete? You never do, because maps lead to destinations, and life isn't meant to end in arrival. It's meant to be played, like music. This is why so many people, even the ones who succeed, feel empty, because they bought the myth of progress. They believe that once they reach the end, graduation, promotion, marriage, retirement, they'd feel whole. But arrival doesn't bring wholeness. Presence does. The now does. And here's the paradox. Chasing progress often pulls us further from the present. You miss the sunrise because you're too busy trying to become someone who wakes up early. You miss the joy of conversation because you're busy crafting the perfect answer. You miss the music of the moment because you're obsessed with skipping ahead to the chorus. Alan Watts puts it simply, you are a function of what the whole universe is doing, in the same way that a wave is a function of what the whole ocean is doing. There's no straight path from here to some ultimate version of you, because you already are the universe dancing right now, expressing itself in a temporary, miraculous form. There's nothing more to progress toward. The wave doesn't need to become more wave-like. It just moves with the rhythm of the ocean. And this realization isn't passive. It doesn't mean you stop doing things or striving or creating. It means you shift how you do them. You write the book not to finish it, but to feel the act of writing. You build the business not to conquer, but to play. You evolve not because you're insufficient, but because evolving is part of the music. You don't need to see the whole map. You just need to hear the beat under your feet and take the next step in rhythm with it. So here's a question that might sound simple, but is, in fact, radical. If there was nowhere to get to, how would you live differently? If this moment was the whole point, not a preparation, not a test, not a means, how would you show up? Would you rush less? Would you listen more? Would you finally allow yourself to be without needing to explain or justify or plan ahead? The reason this hits so hard is because we've been trained to always look ahead. Even in childhood, we're asked what we want to be when we grow up, as if being a child isn't already a complete state of existence. We're never told that we already are something not becoming, not evolving toward, but being. And Watts pulls that curtain back. He says, stop, just stop, listen. The music is here, and the more you try to turn it into a map, the more you miss the song. The irony is brutal. In trying to make life orderly and structured, we often kill the very thing that makes it worth living: spontaneity, aliveness, mystery. We turn our experience into a checklist, a graph, a resume. But no great song ever moved someone because it had the perfect sequence. It moved them because it made them feel. It reminded them that they were alive. So the map is fake, the rhythm is real, and your job isn't to navigate, it's to dance. You're not a traveler, you're the dance itself. Alan Watts on the real nature of self. If life isn't a journey, and it isn't about following a path to a destination, then what does that say about you? About who you are in this strange, mysterious, often overwhelming process of being alive? Alan Watts answers this in a way that flips everything on its head. You are not the traveler, you are not the one moving through life. You are the dance itself. You are not the observer of the music, you are the music, momentarily conscious of itself. That's not poetic fluff. It's a profound shift in how you understand identity, and it has the power to dissolve years, decades of anxiety and pressure. Think about it. If you believe you're a traveler moving through time, then you also believe that you need to go somewhere, that there's a point B to get to from point A. And as long as that illusion holds, your life becomes a race. You measure yourself by how much you've accomplished, how much you've gained, how much you've improved compared to some hypothetical version of yourself. This leads to stress, to shame, to fear of being behind, and to the constant suspicion that you're not enough. You're always chasing a better version of yourself that you never quite reach. But Watts suggests that this entire construct, the idea of a fixed self, slowly trudging toward meaning, is a fiction. It's a psychological costume we put on. A role we play, not out of authenticity, but out of cultural habit. Because here's the shocking truth. There is no fixed you moving through time. There is only movement, only change. You're not an object traveling on a road. You're a process, a flow, a flickering, shifting pattern of awareness. The you think you are is like a whirlpool in a river. It looks like a solid thing, but it's just the river behaving in a particular way for a little while. And this changes everything. If you're not a solid thing trying to get somewhere, then you don't need to fix yourself. You don't need to optimize every minute. You don't need to constantly seek purpose, because being itself is the purpose. The flow is the point. And rather than needing to control it, your job is simply to participate. To experience the movement fully without always asking, what does this mean for my progress? Or how does this fit into the story of me? You start to realize that suffering doesn't come from pain alone, it comes from resisting the flow. From trying to freeze the dance and say, no, I want this moment to stay forever, or I want to skip this part and fast forward to the good stuff. But the dance doesn't obey your preferences. It doesn't follow a script. It moves how it moves. And your peace depends on your ability to move with it, to become porous, to allow life to pass through you like music through a radio, not clinging, not resisting, just vibrating in tune. Watts loved pointing out that the ego, the little voice in your head narrating your life, is not actually in control. It's a byproduct of the dance, not the conductor. It arises like steam from boiling water. Useful sometimes, but not fundamental. And yet we cling to it because it gives us the illusion of control. It tells us stories. This is who I am. This is what I need to do. This is where I'm going. And we believe it. But what if that voice is just background noise? What if the real you is not a story, but the silent awareness underneath all the stories? Let's go even further. If you are the dance itself, if life is not happening to you, but as you, then what happens to fear? What happens to pressure? To the feeling that you're missing something, that you're falling behind? It dissolves. Because now there's nothing to miss, nothing to fall behind. You're not late. You're not early. You're not failing. You're dancing. And even when you trip, even when you stumble, even when you feel completely lost, that too is part of the choreography. The point is never to be flawless. The point is to be fully alive in whatever step you're in. So here's the question Watts would want you to ask yourself, one that can unravel years of inner noise. What if nothing about you needs to be fixed because nothing was ever broken? What if the desire to be better is actually a distraction from the radical truth that you already are everything you're meant to be, not as a final product, but as a living expression of the cosmos unfolding in real time? You are not a traveler lost on some distant road. You are not a self-improvement project. You are not a resume of accomplishments. You are the dance, the music, the moment. You are life, aware of itself right here, right now. There's nothing to chase. Why getting somewhere is the greatest lie of all. If you've come this far, something inside you already knows what I'm about to say. It may have been a quiet suspicion all along, a strange tension you couldn't quite name, that every time you achieved a goal, it didn't feel like a rival. That every time you reached the next milestone, there was always another one waiting. And that despite all your striving, all your planning, all your doing, something still felt incomplete. Alan Watts looked at this cycle and simply asked, what are we really chasing? And who told us there was somewhere else we had to be? From childhood, we are conditioned to chase grades, chase approval, chase the right school, the right job, the right partner, chase making it, chase purpose. And always the future is dangled like a carrot just ahead. Not now, not yet, but soon. And we believe it because everyone else does. We absorb the lie that fulfillment lives in getting somewhere. So we run harder, climb faster, upgrade everything, ourselves included. But we never ask the most important question of all, where exactly is there to get? Watts tears the mask off this illusion with one piercing insight. The pursuit itself is the trap. Life is not a race. It has no finish line. It was never meant to be won. And the more we chase something out there, success, meaning, completion, the more we overlook what's always been right here. Chasing implies lack. It implies you are not enough until you acquire something else. But what if the very act of chasing keeps you from recognizing that you were never lacking at all? This doesn't mean we should do nothing. It doesn't mean we stop creating or dreaming or doing difficult things. It means we stop postponing our presence. You can build without chasing. You can create without clinging. You can grow without believing that growth is required for worthiness. You can move forward while knowing there's actually nowhere to arrive, because you are the arrival. You are the destination unfolding moment by moment. Watts often compared our obsession with goals to listening to music only to hear the final note. Imagine sitting through an entire symphony just waiting for it to end. What madness! Yet that's how most of us live, rushing through the days, weeks, years, thinking, one day I'll arrive. One day I'll get it right. One day I'll finally live. But life isn't a task to complete, it's a song to be played. And the tragedy isn't that we fail to finish it, it's that we never hear it. So let me ask you something simple but devastating. How much of your life have you spent preparing to live rather than actually living? How many moments have you treated as stepping stones rather than sacred experiences in their own right? How much beauty have you passed by in pursuit of a version of yourself that never quite arrives? The truth Watts reveals is both confronting and freeing. There's nothing to chase. There never was. The need to chase is the product of a mind that has forgotten how to be. But once you remember, even for a moment, everything changes. The tension drops. The striving softens. You look around, And for the first time in a long time, you see clearly, you are here, and here is enough. You don't need to get anywhere, you just need to wake up to where you already are. That's not passivity, that's power, that's peace, that's presence. And it's available not after you fix your life, but within it, messy, incomplete, human, real. So stop calling life a journey. Start calling it what it really is. A dance, a song, a flame flickering against the dark, not to be chased, only to be lived.